Man, what's going on, everyone, dude? I hope you guys are doing well or good or great and or whatever. I'll be honest, I have so many videos I have to do this year that I have no idea how I'm going to dictate which one I do first. So I'm kind of following what I did last year and looking at the videos that performed well and just kind of redoing them, re-updating them, because all these devices do so many things change. Even in like a month, these devices can be totally different. So we're just kind of have to go through it. I guess we'll just kind of see which videos I do first. I kind of want to do a lot more like gaming videos as well. Not like gaming videos, but like gaming console reviews, hopefully. Like PSPs, Nintendo DS's, all these things. So this year's I just have like a whole back catalog of what's going on. But today we're going to be talking about the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 6s and seeing how they compare in 2019. I guess this is the early on review because I'm going to be re-comparing these when iOS 13 comes out. Unfortunately, iOS 13 is not going to come for the iPhone 6, which I will talk about that in a second, but it's going to be kind of interesting how I'm going to do a comparison there. Probably like iOS 12 versus iOS 13 on the iPhone 6, 6s, whatever, but that's talking about the future. Right now, we're going to be doing a thorough comparison, as thorough as it can get, and seeing what the differences are, which one you should get. You know, these things have depreciated in value a lot, so these things are not worth what they used to be. Even last year, the prices have decreased about $50 for each of these devices. So let's go ahead and see how they compare. So looking on the outside, they both look pretty much exactly the same. The iPhone 6, the iPhone 6s, the main difference in terms of the front would probably be the home buttons. The iPhone 6 has Touch ID 1, where the iPhone 6s had Touch ID 2, so there's quite a bit of difference right there. In reality, iPhone 6s has the better home button overall because of Touch ID 2, but sometimes I'll be honest, I had the 6 Plus and the 6s Plus, Touch ID 1 versus Touch ID 2. I really didn't notice that much of a difference. Like, I know Touch ID 2 is faster, but like in the back of my mind, I can't really tell a difference in like day-to-day use. And that's pretty much the main differences we have in the front without going to the cameras. On the back, obviously, if we had to go through it, the iPhone 6 has an 8 megapixel camera on the back, the iPhone 6s has a 12 megapixel camera on the back, and I'll talk about that more in a second. They both have headphone jacks, both have lightning ports, and in terms of the body, I guess I have to mention this, the iPhone 6s does have a better built body in a way, because the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus were known to be bending all over the place. The iPhone 6s, Apple actually went ahead and strengthened it a little bit, so the iPhone 6s is harder to bend, but it's still pretty easy to bend. All these phones are really easy to bend, guys. Like, it's not even just Apple, it's like all these phones. Like, if you really wanted to, you could just bend these things in half, but that's kind of my own opinion. But yeah, that's pretty much looking at the outside of these things. Not too much of a difference. The iPhone 6s does have a new color scheme, the rose gold option, where the iPhone 6 did not. But other than that, they're pretty much the same. Now, turning them on, they both have iOS 12.1.2 right now. Looking forward, if you're watching this even like a couple of days from now, it's going to be a completely different iOS version. But I'll tell you in this sense, the iPhone 6s is probably going to end up lasting longer than the iPhone 6. Obviously, it is newer. The iPhone 6 came out in 2014, the iPhone 6s came out in 2015. And just based off that, some people have said that because the iPhone 5s got an extra year support that the iPhone 6 is going to. I guarantee you the iPhone 6 is not. The iPhone 6 is stopping at iOS 12, and I'll get into more of that in a second as well. But if I had to put a number on it, the iPhone 6s is definitely going to last longer, just in terms of software support in and of itself. And I have noticed that with my past comparisons with iOS 12, even with iOS 11, I've noticed that the iPhone 6s has noticeably gotten faster and faster. The iPhone 6 has also gotten a little bit noticeably faster as well. It's not like crazy differences or anything, but I'll definitely say that one of the sad things with the iPhone 6 is that it did not get group FaceTime, which really sucks. The iPhone 6s did end up getting it, so you might see some little key differences between softwares here, because even though they both look the same and everything, the iPhone 6s technically has more features than the iPhone 6, and that's not even going in like Force Touch and all these other hardware things that the iPhone 6s can do, where the iPhone 6 cannot. All these things are pretty much software, which is crazy. Now, in terms of hardware, okay, looking inside of these phones, the iPhone 6 has the Apple A8 chip, a dual-core CPU, and 1 GB of RAM, with the iPhone 6s has the Apple A9 chip, a dual-core CPU, and 2 GB of RAM. And I'll tell you right now, the Apple A8 chip, it wasn't completely slow on the iPhone 6. I'll tell you one thing that messed up the iPhone 6 a lot. It was the RAM. If the iPhone 6 had 1 extra gig of RAM, this phone would have probably been timeless. Just a little bit more timeless though. I would say the difference in speed and comparisons overall between the iPhone 6 and the 5s, which was the previous generation, really wasn't that much, but the difference in speed and everything from the 6s to the 6 is a humongous difference, I'll tell you. I've been comparing the 6s and all these other iPhones compared to like with side by side. I noticed that the iPhone 6s is still comparable in speeds, and if I really needed to, I could probably use it in day-to-day use. It's performance heavy, gaming is really good, and just I have a really good experience owning it. But with the iPhone 6, I noticed that like it's slow, it doesn't perform that well. Like Like, yeah, you can still do things with it, I'm not gonna lie, but when it comes to actually enjoying the usage and everything, I notice that I find myself always leaning towards an iPhone 6s, which is crazy because they both look the same. And I used to be like, not too long ago, before I even owned an iPhone 6s or 6s Plus, I had a 6 Plus, and I was like, I don't really want to get a 6s Plus because there's really not too much of a difference. Like, and I would just look at them and be like, there's really not that much difference between them because of the way they look. I was like, I'd rather just go for the 7 Plus and spend even more money on it. But I can tell you firsthand right now, the difference in speed alone is pretty big between the two. And I think I have to allude that mostly to do with the RAM. If the iPhone 6, like I said, had an extra gig of RAM, it would probably be a little bit better. Obviously, it would be way better. But because it still has the 1 gig of RAM that even the iPhone 5s had, it's a pretty embarrassing thing in my opinion. So in terms of performance, again, hands down, the iPhone 6s wins here by a landslide. Now continuing on with the camera, this is another aspect where the iPhone 6s definitely wins in my books. Like I said earlier, the iPhone 6 had an 8 megapixel camera on the back. The iPhone 6s has a 12 megapixel sensor, both single sensors, no dual cameras or anything like that. But I'll definitely say that the iPhone 6s, yet again, is definitely much, much better than the iPhone 6. And even in day-to-day usage, maybe you'll notice, maybe you won't, but I think it's the lack of certain features with the iPhone 6 that you'll definitely notice. So for starters, you cannot shoot 4K videos on the iPhone 6, where you can actually shoot 4K videos on the iPhone 6s. So for a lot of people out there who want to shoot that Quad HD videos, you will be able to on the iPhone 6s, where you will not be able to on the iPhone 6. Depending on who you are, you might care, you might not. But that's a pretty big deal for, especially like someone like me who wants to eventually get into filming 4K videos. And if I shoot 1080p videos, yeah, I can upscale it, but I'd rather get that raw resolution from it. So that's kind of a crucial thing in my opinion. And also, all these phones are still shooting in 4K, so really cameras haven't evolved too much in terms of the video resolution. They've evolved heavily in like other aspects like the software, the telephoto lens, things like that. But I even compare the iPhone 6s to the iPhone XR. I even compared the iPhone 6s Plus camera, which they share the same sensor. The iPhone 6s Plus does have optical image stabilization though, but I noticed that yes, the iPhone XR has a better camera, this and that, but not by much. I mean, if I had to, I could definitely use the iPhone 6s Plus camera, and I have. Even on this channel, I made so many videos with it, but that's more so the 6s Plus, not the 6s, but you kind of get the idea. I'll definitely say that in terms of the camera, even the front cameras, I mean, we're comparing a 1.2 megapixel camera on the iPhone 6 to a 5 megapixel camera on the iPhone 6s. And I'm telling you right now, the iPhone 6s is definitely one for the books, okay? It's not the best camera or anything like that. When you're comparing it to an iPhone 6, it's definitely much better. Now moving on to battery life, okay? This is one place where the iPhone 6 possibly wins, okay? So the iPhone 6 had a 1,810 mAh battery. The iPhone 6s had a 1,715 mAh battery, and they did decrease the battery size about 100 milliamp hours, which isn't a lot, but when you up in the performance, you increase the performance and you put a better chipset in and everything like that, it could be hit or miss. I guess I'm sick and tired of using that, but either the chipset could increase the battery life or it doesn't, and in this case it really didn't. iPhone 6s had a lot of battery issues. A lot of those were fixed with software where Apple actually slowed down the phone, if you guys remember that, but they did run that thing last year of replacing the batteries. So chances are if you get a used iPhone 6s now, you might actually be able to get one that just got the battery replaced last year, so you might be lucky. Now unfortunately Apple took that away, so you can't do that now. You can still go into the Apple store and replace it, but they did increase the price a little bit. So in terms of battery life, I would probably give the edge to the iPhone 6, but again, I don't think both of these have the best battery life, and you have to factor in the depreciation of the battery as well. So I'll say if the iPhone 6 battery was a 10 out of 10, which it definitely is not, it's like a 5 out of 10, I would probably rate the iPhone 6s battery life probably like a 8 out of 10. It's not the best. I think it's a little bit worse than the iPhone 6, but not by much really. Now some other notable things to note, okay, this is pretty crucial. The iPhone 6 doesn't have any water resistance, and neither does the iPhone 6s, but it did have a little bit of water sealant around it, so technically speaking, you could, if you splash some water on it, you'd be good, but Apple never really advertised it as such and never got the certification, but the screen itself did have water sealant around it. Another quick thing, both these phones are extremely easy to repair, so if you cracked it, well, it's extremely easy to me. Obviously do your research and everything, but if you need to replace the screen or the home button or the camera or whatever, parts on eBay are pretty cheap, so you can easily get it replaced if you know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, it's going to be extremely hard until you learn. But for someone like me who's really in the middle, I mean, I have some experience of taking apart phones, but I always mess up. But I mean, if I needed to, I could replace the screen on my iPhone 6, no problem. And overall, I think the iPhone 6s is just a much better phone. And this is another important thing to note. In the used market, the iPhone 6 and 6s are actually only around $40 difference in prices. I've noticed that iPhone 6s are around like the $100 mark. The iPhone 6s are around that $150, sometimes cheaper, sometimes more expensive. But if I had to average it, I'd say iPhone 6s are around $100, iPhone 6s are around $140. If I had to, I would rather spend $100 more on an iPhone 6s than get an iPhone 6 for $100 cheaper. So what I'll tell you is that if you had to choose one in 2019, I would definitely 100% pick an iPhone 6s over an iPhone 6, okay? Even if you had to spend a little bit extra money, the price per value, the price per dollar, whatever, you will be getting more of a valuable phone from an iPhone 6s than an iPhone 6. And you have to keep this in mind. The iPhone 6 is done being supported most likely by the end of iOS 12. So that's what, like 6 more months of support, 5 months. The iPhone 6s still has a whole nother year of support. So you're going to have all of iOS 12 and all of iOS 13. So like another year and a half of support on the iPhone 6s, which is definitely an A+ in my books. I would rather have a phone that's supported than not supported and save money, you know what I mean? So what I'll tell you is that if you want to, go on the used markets and see if you can pick one of these up. They're relatively easy to get and they're really cheap on eBay and Craigslist and all these places. But if you want something that's a little bit more safe, something with a little bit more warranty, they're a little bit more expensive, but they're definitely worth it in my books. I would really recommend getting certified refurbished. Like I said, you usually get a warranty with it. They're so much easier to get because they're straight through Amazon. So what I'll do is I'll link the cheapest iPhone 6s that I can find on Amazon. I'll link it straight in the description below so you can get it from there. And every sale that happens through that link on Amazon, that actually helps the channel out too. So we can do more videos like this and do more giveaways and things like that. So I'd really appreciate if you guys could check out that link down there. But that is pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think the iPhone 6s is much better? Do you think the iPhone 6 is better? Let me know in the comment section below. But hit that like button. That'll mean so much. But definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count. So it'll mean so much if you guys could hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel. All those links are linked down below. I would really appreciate if you guys could check it out. But more importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.